house. So welcome back to Favorite Friday. For the last case for this week, we are going back to Florida because shit's always going down in Florida. This is another death penalty case video, so our killer does wind up getting death row. So definitely let me know what you feel about that, because there's some people, their thoughts all over the place. I definitely feel like she should be on death row, but again, everybody's opinions are different, so definitely know what you think down below. If you know anybody involved in the case, whether it be the victim, killers, because we do have like 3 killers for this, again, let me know down below. I have all the information that I could possibly find on the internet, and I put it all together in one video, so that way, to make it easier for you, if you are searching up for this case for any reason. And so with that being said, I'm gonna quit my rambling. Let's go and get started. Tina LaSoya Brown was born July 19th, 1970. And so at age, so when Tina's like 12, her parents sadly split, and her father gets custody of her and her siblings, even though like he was selling drugs in the house. And normally you hear about cases where the mother gets custody, so I guess either she didn't want them, or like I don't know if they were aware of the drugs being sold in the house. And so anyway, so yeah, she would make a claim later on that apparently her father had sadly violated her. However, that was never proven, so I can't really say whether or not that did happen. So then she went to her grandmother, so her father's mother, so paternal grandmother, and was like, hey, this is the shit your son's doing to me. Obviously, she didn't say it like that. But again, I guess the grandmother was just offended that somebody could say something negative about her son. So you already know she was one of those moms that was offending her baby, even though, like, her son was out here doing shit he wasn't supposed to be doing. And so then kicked Tina out. And Tina was just trying to confide in her because she needed somebody to confide in. Because obviously, as you can imagine, it's something very traumatic to go through. And so apparently he would get remarried to a woman named Melinda. And apparently the abuse was said to have stopped because now that he has somebody to do those things with. That's how it was literally put. Which is kind of disgusting, but like, yeah. Anyway. And apparently he was warned to like not get with Melinda. But obviously he still did anyway because he didn't marry the woman. And apparently this was because like she did drugs. She was physically abusive. She was promiscuous. All sorts of shit. So then Tina and her brother would apparently claim that while they were in their teenage years, that her brother Willie Jr., so apparently their dad's Willie Sr., so she has a brother named Willie Jr., her brother Willie Jr. would apparently just walk out at night in dangerous neighborhoods, and somehow nothing bad ever happened to them. I don't know if it's because they were kids, or just, like, it didn't mention anything bad really ever happened to them while they were out on these walks, so, like, I'm glad, but at the same time, like, y'all are kids, like, y'all have no business being out in the streets that late at night, and apparently they would just be drinking and doing drugs. Melinda, of course, like I said, she's a trash influence. She apparently had introduced Tina to drugs and was out here making her do prostitution. And, of course, Tina would eventually move out. So, then, of course, Willie Sr., the father, he winds up getting arrested and only serves a year in prison, I assume, for the drugs. Because, like I said, there was drugs going on in the house, so it makes sense. And apparently this was after getting investigated by the FBI. So, you would have thought it'd be more serious, but he only got a year in prison. So, who knows why the sentence was so light. She goes to live with her mother, because obviously she's still a minor, and her dad's in jail, so you can't live with dad now. So go live with mom, and apparently she couldn't adjust to the rules that was there, because dad's house, she could just do whatever the hell she wants, whereas mom's house, there's like actual rules that a child need to be in a child's place, you need to go to school, this, that, and the other. And so obviously she didn't like that, so then she goes and lives with her aunt. And then apparently she's with her aunt, again, still a minor, still in high school, and apparently she goes through 4 different high schools, while in high school, and apparently had dropped out at one point, but then she came back and ultimately did get her diploma. So, good for her on that. So then she winds up moving into a home and meets a man by the name of Greg Miller, and apparently they wind up having 3 children together. The first child obviously the first child would wind up coming out with, like, positive for cocaine in the system, so obviously, you know, that's not good. Nothing really said about the second child, and the third child, after she gave birth to the third child, she decided she's going to leave Greg, rightfully so, and go submit herself into a substance abuse program. So the third child apparently was named Brittany Miller, and then she was born June 2nd, 1993, and I'm only giving her date of birth because apparently she's like really important to the story, and you'll figure out pretty much like why later. And so as part of an agreement that Tina had made with somebody, apparently her mom was to adopt her 2 sons that she had, and I don't know what happened to Brittany, but apparently the sons had to go to the mama so they could have a somewhat stable upbringing. And then she would wind up marrying another man, and apparently it ended after he got arrested for drug charges himself. And apparently she was also, so it didn't last for 4 years, but apparently she was free, like drug free for 4 years. So then Tina gets a job as a bartender where she winds up meeting another man. She dates him for 2 years. And of course, he's arrested for selling drugs as well. And then of course, Tina, she starts going a little downhill again. She gets multiple tickets. So I assume like driving tickets. And her license suspended. Because obviously, of course, I guess after so many tickets, you get your license suspended. So then, of course, she starts writing bad checks because, you need some money because apparently she's not working there this time. And, of course, she gets caught for that. She's arrested. After she gets out for that, she would proceed to go start doing stripping. And she is drinking and doing cocaine while doing the stripping. So, of course, apparently by this point, she is, like, homeless. And then she writes, like, more bad checks. Apparently, she goes into a treatment program, and it seems to, like, work for a while because she graduates from a program that was in this treatment program at, like, age 35. And apparently she becomes assistant manager at a catering company. And then she stays at this company for like 4 years. Did eventually upgrade to manager. And apparently even had a boyfriend. Like I said, things were going up and up. Except instead of getting arrested for drugs, because again, that was like the pattern that was going on here. Apparently this boyfriend was cheating with her brother's girlfriend. So then of course she quits this job. She proceeds to go write more bad checks and basically relapses into drugs. After finding out that her long-term boyfriend basically is for the streets. So in the summer 2009, Tina is enrolled into online classes. She's working at Waffle House, and again trying to get her life. And she had moved to Pensacola, Florida, which is where our story takes place. And apparently here in Pensacola, she met Heather Lee and Adriana Zimmer. So Heather and Adriana, apparently they're like very important characters to the story. So Heather was born on January 13th, 1982. And then Adriana, apparently she was only 19 when this happened. And she was born April 13th, 1990 and was a mother of two. And apparently the two of them would hang out with Brittany a lot. Remember, Brittany is Tina's daughter. So by Thanksgiving 2009, apparently she had quit the Waffle House job and started relapsing again. So again, another downward spiral. And like I said, she's doing the relapse, and apparently, like, if you're addicted, you're willing to do things you normally wouldn't do for, like, the drugs. So apparently, Heather apparently was married, and so Tina started sleeping with Heather's husband in exchange for drugs. So Tina, Adriana, Heather, and Brittany, they're all supposed to be hanging out and stuff. And so, Tina had apparently accused Adriana of slashing her tires, and Adriana apparently afterwards had accused Tina of smashing a window at her house, having her boyfriend get arrested, and calling social services saying that she was an unfit mother. So then Brittany, who's the daughter of Tina, she apparently learned that Adriana had slept with her boyfriend. So then she goes to do what a lot of girls do, because again, these are like young girls, so they're over here like attacking her. And Adriana, because again, this is Florida, fuck around, find out state. She proceeds to defend herself with a stun gun, as one does, even though she shouldn't have slept with the boyfriend. Okay? So then, of course, Heather apparently told Tina, because again, Brittany's her daughter. Look what she did to your daughter. So then Tina pretty much says, I'm going to get her. So on the fateful day of March 24th, 2010, we're at Tina's house. And apparently Tina, Heather, and Brittany are all there. And Tina invites Adriana over under the false intentions of, I want to make up for what happened. I'm sorry for the way my daughter had reacted, even though... So then while this is going on, apparently Heather is teaching Tina how to use a stun gun because apparently she didn't know how to use one. And Brittany even apparently even said that they were going to kill her. So that shows premeditation right there. So then, of course, Adriana shows up sometime after 9 o'clock. And then, of course, she pretty much gets stunned multiple times right away. And she hasn't even been there 5 minutes. So then Tina apparently dragged her to the bathroom. And Brittany apparently was hitting her. And Heather had stuffed a sock in her face. Like a sock in her mouth, so she couldn't, obviously it wouldn't be her if she was screaming, because obviously by this point you can imagine she would be screaming. And then the trio decide we're gonna put Adriana in the trunk of Tina's car. So that's what they do. They drive out to some abandoned little woods area. Tina apparently takes Adriana out of the trunk, and then they start torturing her. So then Adriana had ran away, but two of the women, I would like to assume Brittany and Heather, but it doesn't specify who the two women were. Apparently, they had ran up to her and caught her, brought her back, and then Tina was using a stun gun, and Brittany was using a crowbar to pretty much beat on and torture Adriana. So then the two of them actually decided to switch weapons for whatever reason, don't know, but they switch weapons with each other. So Tina has a crowbar, Brittany has the stun gun, and they decide to keep torturing Adriana. So then Brittany eventually stops with the stun gun because I guess she decides that's not really fun anymore, and she just starts punching Adriana. Tina apparently had a gasoline can in her car pulls that out, pours it on Adriana, of course, has a lighter. Obviously, you know what happens. She gets set on fire, and then apparently the group leaves. So like I said, they left, but Brittany said that, hey, we gotta go back because my shoes are at the scene and we don't need nothing tying us to this crime because, you know, Florida's a death penalty state, which, foreshadowing, but she is right about that. Florida is a death penalty state. So, I guess they didn't go back to get the shoes because the shoes will be later found at the scene, so... And so they get back to Tina's house and they decide we're going to dispose of all the evidence that's here that ties us to the crime in any sort of way. So all the clothes that we're wearing, dispose of it. And apparently Heather's shoes were also put into this bag. So then Brittany had apparently told a friend that was living at this apartment that she had hurt her hand fighting Adriana. And apparently even admitted to setting her on fire. Which, I mean, damn, I thought we were supposed to keep this a secret. But I guess not. So then Tina, of course, drives Brittany to the hospital for treatment. But of course, waiting for the tell what actually happened. So then the bloodstained clothes were obviously thrown away in the dumpster. And then apparently there were bloodstains in Tina's car. And those were also eventually removed. And so Adriana, despite being on fire, and despite everything that's happened to her, she was able to, like, get up and get to, like, a nearby house. And apparently at, like, 9:24, a medical technician, so I guess, like, somebody that could help, did show up on scene, but apparently he couldn't help due to, like, the severity of her burns. So it was that bad. And so apparently she was able to admit that it was Tina and Heather and gave their addresses. And then she also asked, because again, she was a mother too, she was worried about, I guess, if they were going to hurt her kids next, which I mean, understandable, because like my kids are half me, so who's to say they aren't going to hurt my kids too? Luckily, the kids were okay. So she gets taken to a hospital where she is stabilized and then transferred over to a burn unit because, like I said, her severe burns. So we gotta treat those. So then Brittany was actually released from the hospital the next day, and then she was apparently arrested shortly after, along with Heather and Tina. They eventually will be released, I guess, after like not enough evidence, even though the actual person themselves is still alive, saying that like it's them. But I guess there wasn't enough evidence to like have them fully arrested yet. And so they find out that Adriana was actually still alive and apparently told their names as to how they were even arrested in the first place. So then apparently Brittany has a friend named Pamela Valley, like try to see if we can go finish Adriana off so she can't talk anymore. Of course, Pamela, she was smart. She did go to the police and said like, hey, they trying to like finish this woman off. And so they don't do anything about it then, but Adriana would sadly die of her injuries 16 days later on April 9th. And then that's when police decide we're going to go in and arrest you. Because now this woman has died. We can get you on murder charges. And so at trial, Tina pretty much was trying to defend her actions by saying that, hey, I had to grow up at an early age because my parents were around a lot. And apparently she told somebody by the name of Dr. Bailey that on the day of the murder, she did like several $100s worth of cocaine, even though she was apparently tested the day after the murder. And if you did that much cocaine, it should still show up in your system. And apparently like no drug showed up in there whatsoever. So like I don't know how that happened, but you tell me. So then Dr. Bailey apparently also talked to Tina, her mother, her two sons, her uncle, and her brother. She also looked at her medical, legal, and academic records. And so she also looked at psychological testing, the offense report, and investigative report. And then she also came back that Tina pretty much had like physical and sexual traumas due to like what she went through as a child. She had negative experiences with the community and exposure to violence. But despite all this, she pretty much said that Tina knew what the hell she was doing. So I thought Dr. Bailey was trying to like defend Tina, but like, I guess not. And so apparently there was this little 13-year-old girl that was there named Mallory. And apparently Mallory would testify at trial that she was basically told like, you need to stay quiet or Brittany's going to kill her. So then in 2012, apparently Heather took a plea deal and got 25 years. Said she took the plea deal, and I assume she testified. And it said that she was pretty much the first to admit like what happened. She was testifying against Tina and Brittany, so I guess how she got a lighter deal, the lightest of the three. And apparently she would claim that she actually didn't fight Adriana because Mallory was holding her back. Even though Mallory again is a 13-year-old girl and Heather's a whole grown ass woman, but like she was trying to use whatever she could get off light. So then on June 6th, 2012, the jury for Tina's trial apparently recommended death. And then on September 28th of that same year, Tina does wind up getting death. So she currently is on Florida's death row. Brittany, of course, was sentenced to life in prison in 2013, despite being like 16 years old apparently at the time. Because again, this was Florida. You know, they don't play when it comes to murder, especially premeditated. And so apparently in 2017, she was eligible for a new trial after it was apparently declared unconstitutional that minors get automatic death sentences. Automatic life sentences, even in crimes as serious as murder. And apparently she's eligible for a hearing to try to see if her sentence would get reduced after 15 years. And she was sentenced in 2013, so we'll see in about 4 years from now whether she gets resentenced. And so then Tina apparently tried to have her death sentence appealed. What's it called? There's one member of the jury who apparently knew somebody that had burn injuries. Like, that person had survived, but they knew somebody with burn injuries, so therefore basically saying that person is biased in that sense. And I didn't hear anything back after that, so I would like to assume that got denied, because I looked at Florida's record, she still is on death row. So yeah, so like I said, that is another Florida case, not as well known, but definitely crazy. Definitely know your thoughts down below. If you knew any of the women involved, especially Adriana, definitely know down below. If anybody knows where her children are at now, because like it seems like she really did love her kids, I hope they're doing well. And so that's all I have for this video. That's all I have for this week. I'm here for you guys 3 times every Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I'm the one who's always sorry, the conclusion, even though I offer all of the solutions.